But now the Democratic Alliance has blasted the ANC's decision to press ahead with plans to amend the constitution to allow for expropriation without compensation. President Cyril Ramaphosa made the announcement last night after the governing party's two-day NEC lekgotle that took place in Pretoria. Now, the proposal was first adopted during the party's 54th National Congress in December. The president says the governing party will now finalize the proposed amendment through the parliamentary process. Well, but the DA says the governing party is playing Russian roulette with the country's economic future. It believes the policy is only aimed at gaining public support and will only fuel the country's job crisis. The opposition says it will oppose the ANC's attempt to amend the constitution in Parliament. And now joining us on the phone line for more details and reactions toward this, we've got political analyst Professor Somadoda Fikeni. Good morning to you, Professor. Thank you so much for your time. Now, land hearings across the country are indeed at the final leg, and in a twist of events, which was very much not unexpected, President Cyril Ramaphosa has come out announcing that the ANC will now move to amend the constitution for land expropriation without compensation. Your reaction to this, was this exactly expected?
It was expected that ANC would state its position sooner or later because they may be preempting any perception that it's only the EFF which is the champion for this cause of land redistribution, mindful of the fact that elections are coming. But also, their preemptive strike might have a reason from reading the public mood out of the hearings, because now, as you correctly say, we are going to the very final stages of these public hearings. And this issue has become an election campaign issue, and the ANC wouldn't want to be found flat-footed. But more important, above all, they wanted to put some context and some dimension to their own proposed amendment, which I'm sure the Secretary General and later on will be able to stipulate some of the riders to such a change of the Constitution, including the issue of food security, the support for those who will be given land, and all those kinds of things.
So you are mentioning that this move, of course, by the president might have actually been strategic, noting that we're actually headed towards the elections. However, we cannot run away from the fact that several opposition parties, just to cite the economic freedom fighters, have been very vocal with regards to the issue of land expropriation without compensation. What can we perhaps say has been the reasoning behind the decision by the ANC? Was it basically based on pressure, or did it really just come from a place of actually wanting to provide fairness for all South Africans?
I do think that we should accept that after 2 decades of our freedom, the shift is moving away from the first generation human rights, freedoms of association, freedom of expression. People are beginning to say the material conditions have not changed in any significant manner. The apartheid geography is still there. Hence, earlier on, ANC was even beginning to talk about the second transition, which will focus more on socio-economic transformation, as well as the radical economic transformation program leading to its Nasrec conference. But the biggest challenge has been ANC's failure to implement even the bare minimum of these policies. And I think that's where most of their energy should be focused. And that Cyril Ramaphosa was made to make the announcement instead of the traditional, Secretary General announcement after the lekgotle might also be a preemptive arrangement to manage the optics, because ANC is somewhat still divided. And they wouldn't want to say those who had supported Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma are the ones who are championing the cause of radical economic transformation.
And now, Professor, just talk us through on exactly how does then now the governing party actually move with regards to, you know, having this rather decision of amending the constitution quite played out properly, using, of course, proper parliamentary processes, taking into consideration that it needs to be straightforward and clear, and in fairness, actually be fair to all South Africans, be it Khoisan or be it any other group in the country. Do you think that this is quite achievable?
It is achievable, but only if you do have deep conviction from the political leadership as well as state capacity to implement, because the biggest challenge for us has been not the lack of good policies, but the lack of will and capacity to implement those existing policies.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for your time and for joining us on the phone line on our program here in Afro World View. Professor Somadoda Fikeni.